So we've been discussing Torah, Samech Vav 66. There's many aspects to this Torah. I told you guys this is actually the longest Torah in all of section 1, and there's over 400 Torahs in section 1. So it's a very long Torah, and Rav Nachman doesn't say things unless they need to be said, so it's a very important Torah. I think tonight we're going to talk about maybe the most important part of the Torah, which has to do with obstacles, and what's the purpose of obstacles, and what's the purpose of our life. So we discussed so far that there's two main spirits every person has. You have one that you experience on a general basis down here in this world, but you have a higher spirit, a higher soul. And when you pass away, that higher soul actually comes down to you, and that's what causes you to pass away. Because your higher soul comes down, your lower soul is very attracted to it because it comes from it. So therefore, once it gets a taste of it, it can't let go, and then it goes up together. This is actually why you hear stories about people right before they pass away, they say very interesting things. Or let's say a person, they have a near-death experience, and they'll talk about the fact that they experienced very, very deep things. So on a deep Kabbalistic level, it's because this higher level of their soul is coming down and they're experiencing it, even if it's momentarily. So what we want to do is we want to be by our Rebbe, we want to be by our teacher every time he experiences death. Rav Nachman says that death is not just physical death, it's also going from level to level, which he is constantly doing. Therefore you want to be by him. Rav Natan's going to say later that one of the biggest benefits is because he's going higher and higher, he's able to draw down more compassion from Hashem. And therefore no matter what you've done in your life, whatever Vera that you've done, whatever Vera that you're doing, he is constantly able to mataken and rectify those things for you because he's going up and up and up. So you want to be by him for every time that he passes away. We said that we need to draw this potential higher soul and manifest it in our actual life. This is our goal, to take potential and to make it actual. Now how do we do this? So we said by perfecting our speech. We're going to learn tonight why speech is the mechanism that takes potential and turns it into actual. But we said that on a basic level, we need to perfect our speech. We talked about this in many Torahs before. We said that the way to do this is through truth. So therefore, the more truth that you learn, and the more you try to integrate this in your life, the more that your speech will become perfected. But we said something before, not in this Torah, which is what is the gateway to truth? It's purity. So the more that a Jew is pure, to that degree he can contain truth. Right? So therefore, if a person is wasting seed, so that he's not able to absorb this higher level of truth, and then his speech does not become perfected, and then he's unable to get his prayers answered. Okay. Now tonight, Rav Nachman has taught us that when the Jews were in Mitzrayim, they were incapable of speaking to Hashem. This is Rav Nachman's Hiddush. Now what was the exile of Egypt? It was that they were incapable of talking to Hashem. You don't see this anywhere else. They say that the exile was a physical slavery, it was a spiritual slavery, it was all of these different things. You see many different pshatim for what the exile of Mitzrayim was. Rav Nachman says the essence of the exile of Mitzrayim is that we were incapable of opening our mouths to Hashem. And now we can look back and see something amazing, because you see right before we left, all of the Jewish people screamed out to Hashem. They cried out to Hashem, and right the very next pasuk, you see Hashem says to Moshe, Moshe, go save them. So you see it was them opening their...
bush right after.
Right, the burning bush is right after. So you see right after they all... And it says that Hashem heard their cry. What, he didn't hear them before? And to some extent he didn't. Why not? Because they couldn't open their mouth and talk to Hashem. So it'd be like, how hard is it for them to talk to Hashem? They were enslaved for 400 years. All you have to do is look at yourself and all of your obstacles, all of your difficulty, all of your suffering in your life. Why can't you talk to Hashem? So you see that there's something very deep which is holding us down, which is preventing us from opening our mouths and speaking to Hashem. That's not coming from our life, because our life would necessitate we should be speaking to Hashem all the time. I believe in Hashem, so why can't I just sit down and just cry to Hashem and ask for salvation? And the answer is something's holding us back, and the answer is exile. The whole concept of Mitzrayim is you can't talk. Moshe himself was the model of this. When Hashem came to Moshe, Moshe said, I can't speak. I can't talk to you. can't talk. How am I going to be the spokesperson for you if I can't speak? And right after we left Egypt and we got the Torah, Moshe was fine speaking. Why? Because he's not in exile anymore. And exile is the exile of speech.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for the peanut gallery.
Nice.
Thank God the camera's not on you.
Peanut? You want some peanut?
We don't need a side camera for Abraham, otherwise my videos would get abolished very quickly. Besides the crazy people who say there was like on the first video that I uploaded from a few years ago, they said this guy is like the devil and he's coming from Baal Peor or some kind of crazy religious fanatical. It was the most basic speech. I was like, hey, my name's David, I come from New Jersey. So I can't even imagine what stuff like this is going to attract. But okay, good. So you see here that Mitzrayim is the exile of speech. So now you could say, based on Torah Tet that we learned together, which said what? That Yaakov and his children Davka went down into Egypt. Why? Because they are the different types of speech. They are the different types of tefillah. So they go down into Egypt. So I'm going to say Chidush based on the Torah that we're learning, which I think is going to make the Torah make a lot more sense. According to Kabbalah, what were the broken vessels that fell into this world? So they'll tell you it's sparks, but what are these sparks? So according to Kabbalah, these sparks are the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. They broke, and they are now hidden in the exile of this world. Now it's going to make sense. It says that every Jew is a letter in the Torah. So now we can understand, if we're down in exile, so what's down in exile? It's the letters. We are the letters that are down in exile. Now why can't we speak? Because we're in exile. The letters are in exile. The letters are stuck. And where are they stuck? And the answer is in Meitzar Garon, in the narrowness of the throat. It says that Mitzrayim comes from the word Meitzar. Meitzar means narrowness. What's the narrowness? Egypt is a very big land. And the answer is, it's a spiritually narrow place, because just like when you're a horse and you can't speak, so too in Mitzrayim, it's a place where you don't speak. This is a place that you get. And where do we see this even more? Because Paro said to Moshe, pray for me. And Moshe said explicitly in a pasuk, I need to exit the land of Egypt before I can pray for you. I need to leave and first pray for you. Mitzrayim is the place where you do not speak. It's the place of silence. You ever hear Sounds of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel? That was Egypt. You can't speak.
By the way, Galut is without the Aleph, but Galot. Galut, you have to reveal the letter.
Yes, that's right. So what are we revealing? We're revealing the letters which are stuck in Egypt, which are really your hopes and your desires and your dreams. They're all stuck inside of you. They're all stuck in your throat. Now what was the sea splitting and us leaving? That was like the letters leaving your throat. And the redemption is the Torah, and this is the revelation. Okay. Now he's going to say like this. Hamshich nekudot elotiot hu al yedei hacheshek va'kisufin. The way to draw vowel points into the letters. 1 second. Oh, sorry, I missed something here. Ushenishlamin otiot adibor. When a person perfects his speech through truth, one must see that he expresses his words perfectly. Sometimes the letters of the speech, they get caught in your throat, in the narrow of the throat. This is 4a. This corresponds to what is known in Yiddish as a sore throat. To be able to speak perfectly, one has to extract the words from the narrowness of his own throat, meaning to draw vowel points into the letters. We learned in a prior Torah that the letters themselves are like golem. They're like bodies with no life. But when you draw vowel points into letters, now they make words. So too, we all have hopes and dreams. We all have desires. We all want to come close to Hashem. We all want to be free. We all want peace with our wife. We all want our children to be well behaved. We all want health and happiness and joy. How do we get those things? The answer is they're all available to us, except they are the letters that are stuck in our throat. And we need to be able to get them out. And how do we get them out? We get them out through vowel points. We're going to see later in this Torah what these vowel points are, and it's very beautiful. Empirically, we know that without vowel points, words can't be said. So too, the words that are engraved in your heart, they can't come out of your throat until they also have vowel points. And with these vowel points, we're able to take our potential dreams and make them into actual reality. And he says, all of a person's thoughts, they enter into your speech. I told you guys once in the past something very interesting. According to Rabbi Nachman, there's no such thing as a thought that does not become speech. Thus we find in the Zohar, it says that his lips whisper thoughts. What does it mean? Rabbi Nachman says, although a person doesn't perceive this, and even though it happens very subtly, every single thought that enters a person's mind enters into his speech at the time that he thinks it. It's just difficult for him to detect this. And we know that the mechanism for turning things into reality in this physical world is through speech. So therefore we see that your thoughts also become reality because your thoughts also become your speech, even though you may not recognize it. Similarly, anything that a person does must first come into speech. What is this talking about? According to Kabbalah, there's three worlds that are most connected to this world. There's Olam HaBriya, which is the world of creation. There's Olam HaYetzira, which is the world of formation. And there's Olam HaSiyah, which is the world of doing or making or action.
How do you say the difference? Was it Yetzira and Bria? How do you say in English?
Yetzira is formation.
Formation, okay.
And Asiyah is action.
No, Bria.
Bria is creation.
Creation and Yetzira is formation.
Creation, formation, action. Action. Cut.
Go.
Okay, good.
Creation, formation.
Now, what is this in simple terms? The world of creation is the world of thought.
CFA.
Olam HaBriya is the world of thought. Olam Yetzira is the world of speech. And the world of action is just that. It's a deed. It's a physical action. So therefore, what has to happen before anything manifests in this world? Hashem has to first think it, then he has to speak it, and then it becomes a physical reality. It always goes through these steps according to Kabbalah. And so too with us. Every single one of the things that you do in your life must first come from your will, to your thought, to your speech, to reality. So now we can understand why is it that I need to perfect my speech in order to make potential into reality in my life. And the answer is potential is corresponding to your thoughts. Reality is corresponding to what happens in your life. And the thing that's in between is your speech. So therefore you need to perfect your speech in order to take your thoughts, your potential, and turn it into a reality.
What do you think of something? When you think of something and you do it.
So he's saying that you are speaking it. You spoke it and you didn't realize it. There's no such thing as you thought something and you did it and you didn't speak it out.
So why do we have to speak it in Hitbododus? Why do we have to actually speak if it's already spoken?
So not every speech is perfected speech. Not every speech is perfect speech.
Speaking it out does it mean like physically or in your mind?
So he says on a very subtle spiritual level, it's all being spoken out. If you want to picture it, every single time you're thinking something, you're following that button. Speak.
God is like he reads Koreri Klayot Va'alev. So why we have to
Speak.
scream?
So I'm explaining
I
to
mean,
you.
like,
You don't have to scream,
no?
but you have to speak.
Oh, that I agree. Yeah. I am.
No, because he's talking
I'm
about the
speaking-
toilet.
Before, I know he's having trouble
Yeah.
with it.
I'm
Yeah.
speaking with it.
Later.
From the Berabeh.
Okay, hold on to the questions for a little bit later. Hopefully, as things go on, they'll start to make more sense. Similarly, anything a person does must first come into speech, since all things have to enter the aspect of thought, then word, and then deed. We see from this, it is through speech that the action is accomplished and a possibility becomes a reality. Even in the Chagim, you see this. Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year, the thought. Then you go into Yom Kippur, and this is the day that we're praying all day and we don't eat and we don't drink, we're just speaking. Speak. Right? And then you have Sukkot, and Sukkot is when you build the sukkahs, and then you turn all of that into a physical reality, and you're eating and you're happy and X, Y, and Z. And then Simchat Torah, you're dancing. So you see, you're going from thought into speech into deed, and that's the whole year.
Woo! You? This your Kiddush? A second, let me gather my head because it just blew up. Wow, that was amazing.
Okay, and this is a microcosm for everything. This is a microcosm for all. Okay.
Did you hear this? You maybe heard, but you didn't listen.
Now you sound like Denzel Washington trained that. You hear me, but you ain't listening.
Hear you.
Okay. That was my weak, white, Ashkenazi black man impression. You guys like that? Now, before the potential action can be actualized, it must first enter the aspect of speech. Therefore, in order to turn potential into actual, the letters of speech must be made whole. And now we understand another reason why we have to do Hibodeduk. Hibodeduk perfects our speech. And Hibodeduk is where we speak. So therefore, when you have thoughts, if they remain thoughts and they never are spoken out, so then you're very limited in terms of what you can make a reality. And you're going to see even more why this is the case. Now, one must express these words without a blemish from the narrow of his throat. Where is the blemish from the narrow of his thought coming from? It's coming from the fact that he doesn't have vowel points in the letters. And we're going to learn in a minute what are the vowel points that we need in the letters. And this is what's going to allow us to speak effectively. And then when the words that emerge are perfect, automatically your potential thoughts become actual reality. It's the speech. When you perfect your speech, you're golden. You're good. You left Egypt. Take it even further. The Zohar says, Paro. Who is Paro? What do we just say that Mitzrayim is? The place where you can't speak. It's where the words get trapped in the throat. What is the back of the neck called? Oref. And if you flip the letters of Oref around, it spells Paro.
Stiff neck.
Yeah. Paro represents the back of a person's neck, meaning the place of the Sitra Achra in the neck that swallows up the words. Moshe, according to the Zohar, is the front of the neck. He is the connection between Hashem and us.
But you know, par, what it is also in Hebrew, it is like para and par.
Okay.
Par, it's also the male of the cow. The par is usually stubborn.
Stubborn, that's also stubborn. Yeah, it's also true. Part of the reason we don't speak, also connected to maybe because we're stubborn. But you see, and he says, Rav Nachman says in other lessons, he has an amazing, crazy lesson about food. He says that paro represents the throat. This is where the words get caught. And he says that all of your different stomach organs represent the three, like people who work for him, like the bread, the butler and the baker. He says they're really the stomach and the esophagus. And when you have a taiva for food and you engage in gluttony, then those worksmen, those people that work for him, they go to Paro and they convince him to trap the letters in your throat so that when you try to speak, they don't come out.
Rav Nachman?
Yeah, Rav Nachman. I have to look it up. It's later on. We'll do it together. I don't think it's a long one. It's very interesting. Okay. So, what is the way that we draw a vowel point into our words? The way is through desire and longing. Through will, through desire, through longing. This is the desire to perform a mitzvah or some other holy deed that a person desires to do. It is the aspect of nekudot hakesef. This is translated from Shir Shirim as spangles of silver, but he translates it literally. Nekudot, meaning the vowel points, hakesef, which is kesufin, which is desire, meaning that your desire are the vowel points. So until you have a real strong desire to follow through with something, those words are stuck in your throat because they're not alive. The only way they come alive is through your will. And he says, without these vowel points made through your longing and your desiring, it's impossible to do anything. For example, before a person says anything, he must first have the desire to speak. It's true? Before you think anything, on a very subtle level, you must desire to have a thought. So seemingly it just pops in. But I'm telling you, on a deep spiritual level, you must first desire to have that thought. According to Kabbalah, desire first comes before anything.
It has to be a will.
Always has to be a will. will transforms into a thought, thought transforms into speech, and speech into action. But it always starts with will. So therefore he says, before you do anything, you first have to want it. The same is true of any act a person carries out. Unless he first had a desire to do it, he's not going to do it. Consequently, for any holy thing that a person has to do, and he brings examples of things that he says your whole Judaism depends on. One of this, which is something that he's famous for, is to travel to a tzaddik. He says, Mamish, your whole Judaism depends on your connection to a tzaddik, and therefore, if you have the ability to go visit one, which is part of the reason why people are obsessed with going to Uman, is because of this. He says that you're going to have many, many, many obstacles, and therefore your desire, which we're going to learn in a moment, has to match the obstacles that you're facing. Therefore, he is first supplied with the desire, so he might do that thing. Rav Nachman says, when you have shefa that comes down to you, something amazing, you think your shefa is money, you think your shefa is, I don't know, peace with my wife. Rav Nachman says, do you know where the shefa first descends as? Will. When you pray to Hashem and you ask for Him to help you with things, the first thing you're going to notice, if He actually gives you an answer to your prayer, is He's going to give you a strong will in a certain area. Going to give you a will, a desire. Now the extent to which a person's desire, this is 4C. This is Dalit.
Give me.
Give it to him. The extent. So listen to this. This is very important. Guys, focus. This is very important. The ikar, the essence, godel hacheshek, of the greatness of your desire, the strength of your desire, where does it come from? Where are you getting this desire from? So we're saying you cannot speak out these words unless you have vowel points, which is your desire. Where is that desire coming from that you're able to talk out these words out of your throat? Naseh ayadei hamaniya shemazminin la. He's saying that these desires that you have, this desire, this ratzon, this will that you have to speak something to Hashem, you know where it comes from? It comes principally from the obstacle that heaven prepares for you. That heaven prepares for you every day certain obstacles. And why is Hashem giving you these obstacles? Thank you. You're going to see many reasons for why the Torah says that a person goes through difficulties. However, you rarely ever see this reason, and Rav Nachman says this is the main reason a person goes through difficulties in their life. What is the reason that Hashem clothes your desire, your will, in a shell, in a klipa, in a maniot, in a struggle or a difficulty, a hardship? What happens when you know that the thing that you want is inside the shell and the shell is right in front of you? You want it more, no? The desire increases. And what if I told you it's as easy as cracking it with your teeth? Then your desire increases even more. And then what if you try and you can't, but you see everybody around you doing it? It becomes even more and even more and even more. So where does the desire come from? It comes from the extent of the obstacle. Rav Nachman says the deeper and the more difficult the obstacle, the greater is your desire. And the whole reason Hashem gives you the difficulty is only to increase your desire. That's the only reason. That's it. Now why is He doing that? Because you're going to see later on that your desire has to meet the greatness of your goal. Then you get the goal. Then you get the goal. So therefore, if the thing that you want, it's, let's say, 100%, and you're only giving 50% of your will, when you speak to Hashem, you're praying, Hashem, please help me, I need you. But the thing you want is this good, and you only want it really this much. And you could say, no, I want it more than that, but you don't, because you would scream for it. And Rav Nachman says that as soon as your will, your desire meets the greatness of the goal that you have, the maniya, the obstacle automatically disappears. Because the maniya is a shell which is covering and protecting your goal, and it's waiting for you to break it through your will. So therefore, when a Jew needs to do something for his Judaism, particularly when he said his Judaism entirely depends on that thing, like connecting and traveling to a true tzaddik, he says an obstacle is going to be arranged for him. And Rav Natan says that the essence of all of your avoda with Hashem, you know, most people are going to think that what's the essence of my avoda? To do the mitzvot, to learn Torah. Rav Natan says that is not the essence of why you're here. He says the essence of why a Jew is here is to overcome his obstacles through his desire, to increase his desire through the obstacles. That's the whole purpose of your existence, to continually overcome difficulties in your life. That's what you're here for. Not for a certain amount of Torah, not to do a certain amount of mitzvot. Focus.
Oh, he's asking stuff.
Why are you here? Rav Natan says, why are you here? What is avodat Hashem? What is the essence of avodat Hashem? Rav Natan says, the essence of your avodat Hashem is not the amount of Torah that you learn. It's not the amount of mitzvot that you do. The essence of your avodat Hashem is your will. It's your will in overcoming your difficulties. That means you have a guy who he's struggling mightily to accomplish something, and it's on a very low level. But this is his obstacle, this is his difficulty, and he's fighting tooth and nail to overcome it. This is what's making Hashem more happy than anything. The whole reason you're here is to overcome difficulties. So you'll say, how am I in control of me overcoming my own difficulties? I'm not, Hashem is. And the answer is that Hashem only makes the difficulty to elicit your will, so that your tefillah is more sincere. And as soon as your will is increased, and your tefillah becomes more sincere and more heartfelt, automatically the obstacle breaks and you get the thing that you want.
So the obstacle is not a punishment.
No, it's not. It's a gift. The barrier, he says, is only for the sake of your desire, so that you will have a greater desire to do that thing. Since the barrier keeps that person from something that he wants, it greatly increases his ratzon for it. For example, if one shows a child an object that makes him so happy and he immediately grabs it and the guy hides it from him, he says the child is going to go on chasing after that person, begging for that object and desiring it very much. We see from this that the desire comes mainly from the person having grabbed away the object and hidden it. For example, you have, I heard from Rabbi Kiva he's giving a class on how to raise children. He said something very interesting. He said if you have a kid, you bring him to, let's say, CVS, you have many snacks in there that are not kosher, and you have a few that are kosher. Your kid comes over to you, he says, hey, can I have this, I don't know.
Tortilla.
Yes. These Dorito tortilla chips that are not kosher. But mom says they're not kosher. And the kid knows he's only had kosher things his whole life. His mom always says, if it's kosher, you can have it. It's kosher, you can have it. He says, okay, fine. He goes back, he looks for another snip. Shows it to him. Says, this is not kosher also. It needs a U, it needs a K, it needs... Also puts it back. Okay, no problem, put it back. Brings out another candy. This time it's kosher. The mom says, but look what time it is. It's not lunch yet. The kid has a fit, crying on the floor. It's kosher. You told me I can have it. I can eat it. The kid will sit there crying for hours and hours, and he'll break you because he's a little kid and he has more energy than you. And he's going to win. So what's the difference between these two situations? They're seemingly exactly the same. He can't have it. The answer is, in the first situation, he knows he can't have it. In the second situation, it's an obstacle. And he will sit there and he'll cry until he gets it. So too with us. Why do we keep praying for something? Because inside of us, we know that Hashem is not saying it's not kosher, it's not for you. He's saying when you want it more, when you desire it more, when you pray more sincerely, when you give me your whole heart, when you give me the best that you have, I'll give it to you. The same is true in regard to holiness. A person is prevented from attaining the thing that is crucial for his Judaism only so that his desire increases. Like it says in Mishlei, V'lechem setarim yunam. Bread eaten in secret is a delight. The more a thing is withheld and concealed from a person, the more he desires that thing. He says this is even the root of lust and desire for things that are not kosher.
Right.
Then another one.
Mayim binuvim
מים
yimtaku.
גנובים בדיוק.
Yeah, the more that you are not able to have something, the more you want it. That's why many times you'll see when we learn certain Torahs and Rav Nachman says, this is mamish bad for you, you shouldn't do this. Now you desire it more. Many people, they come out of this class, they want to weigh seed more in the beginning because all we're talking about is this. In the beginning, okay, so like it's not the best thing, but it's, and then Rav Nachman's every single lesson is about the Brits, like I just got to do it, I got to get it out, I can't take it anymore.
גם לטוב וגם לרע.
And all of it is because when something is taken from you, you want it more. Because man is largely barred from sin, because we are ordered, we are warned and commanded not to transgress, so it is substantially withheld from us. And because of this, we have an overpowering desire for it. The same thing applies to Kedusha. When confronted by an obstacle, a person's desire grows even stronger. And the greater the objective that you have, the greater is the obstacle. I heard once recently about a person. He was obsessed with getting Jews out of prison. He used to go to prisons in Eastern Europe, and he used to go and he used to do everything he could to try and take Jews out of jail. And he went and he took this guy out and he took this guy, and Mamish and Malach, an amazing, amazing human being. One day, for something he didn't do, he ended up in jail with no sentence, not knowing when he's going to get out. And he's in prison. And can you imagine what he's thinking? I spent my whole life getting Jews out of jail, and now I'm in prison for something I didn't commit, and for how long, I don't know. And he's praying and he's crying to Hashem, why are you doing this to me? He has a dream at night.
I have a dream.
What was a dream?
No, it was real, but he had a dream at night. In the jail, he had a dream in the prison of Sarah Aminu. Sarah came to him in the dream, I don't know how he knew it was her. Came to him in the dream and told him that sometimes when a person wants something that's very great, then the only way Hashem can give him that thing is if he puts him through the thing that he's trying to take away from the world. So you want to stop the suffering of people who are imprisoned unnecessarily. So Hashem needs to put you in that position so you know what it feels like, so you can do that more effectively than anybody else. Because until you feel the suffering of that person, you're never going to be able to give it everything that you have. And so too in our lives, Can you imagine how many things that you prayed for and how deeply felt are the things that you prayed for? I know for me, I pray for things, I don't know if they're realistic, and I pray for very great things. And who knows, maybe Hashem is also saying, I can't allow you to do that until you first go through it. Where do we see this? Mashiach. Mashiach is suffering with the people who are suffering the most. Why is Hashem having Mashiach suffer? He's not doing it because of his averot. It's not happening because of his sins. And the answer is maybe because Mashiach has the highest soul. And what's the highest part of the soul? It's the will. Maybe the whole reason Mashiach has to go through all of this suffering and all of these difficulties is to bring out his will. Because the whole thing that he's going to offer to the world is his will. And how is that going to come out if he doesn't go through all of these things? So to give you solace and to give you encouragement through all of your difficulties. Hashem knows what's good for us. And one thing you know for sure, if something is difficult and it's being held from you, but you know that Hashem wants it for you also, it must be because he wants to increase your will for it. So you're going to say, I can't want it anymore. And the answer is you must be able to. You must have something deep. You didn't get it yet, that means There must be something somewhere deep down you can dig down deeper. And only after you're able to and you get the thing, you're going to understand. And we'll be able to thank Hashem. Therefore, one needs to know that there are three elements to every situation. You have the desire itself, you have the desirer, the one who desires, and you have the thing that's being desired. Yeah. You always have these three aspects within your will. The person who desires the object that is desired, and the desire that one has for the desired objective. And he says the extent of the desire has to be in proportion to the magnitude of the thing you want. Therefore, when the desired object is very great, your desire has to be very great. One is then confronted, he says, by extremely difficult obstacles in his life, through which one's desire becomes particularly great. For the greater the obstacle, the stronger the desire grows, as I've explained above. So you see, the whole reason that he gives you these difficulties is only because it's the only way to bring out your will. More and more and more and more. What?
Only way?
Yeah, it's through the difficulties.
The only way?
Yes.
So why not put yourself through the difficulty?
Don't worry, Hashem's got you.
I want to faster, so might as well put through difficulty.
When you try and do holy things, you're going to have many obstacles. Trust me, you won't have to look for them. Thus, a person should know that when the barriers that keep him from doing something holy are very great, it should be an indication to you that what you want is a very good goal. It's very great and it's very valuable, and that this is the reason the barrier is very great. Don't think, like many people think, when they go through difficulties or challenges, and they go through years and years of hardship, and you're trying to obtain it and it's not happening, they think, you know what, that's it, I'm done. I can't do it. Obviously Hashem doesn't want it from me. It's BS. Hashem wants it.
On camera.
Hashem wants it.
Heretic.
Hashem wants it. You have to know that Hashem wants it from you. You have to know. And if it's very hard, that's a proof, it's a sign. It's not that he doesn't. It's a sign he wants to give it to you. This is particularly so when he wants to do something that his whole Judaism depends on. Like getting close to a certain tzaddik, like moving to Eretz Yisrael, things of this nature. Because when a person wants to get close to him and everything depends on this, he's going to be confronted by very great obstacles. For this itself, a person should understand the great value of what you want. It should give you more encouragement. It should give you greater will. More and more and more. Thus, as a rule, all obstacles are for the sole purpose of desire, only in order to greatly heighten your desire. Therefore, when a person's desire is extremely great, he will certainly be capable of accomplishing this thing, turning it from potential into actual. So here we have the formula. Ready? We have potential, which is the higher level of our soul. We have actual, which is what we experience. We have what we want, which is not here yet. Why? Because that thing that we want is stuck in exile. It's stuck in the letters in our throat. And we need to scream it out to Hashem, and we can't. Why? Because there's no vowel points in there. Why isn't there vowel points? Because the vowel point is equal to the desire. And Rav Nachman said this is the reason why there's 9 different vowel points. Because they're all connected to higher goals. Vowel points. Yes. The tet is silent. Malchus is silent. The lowest one is silent. Okay? The lowest vowel point is not really a vowel point. It's silent. The whole point is the vowel point is it gives you speech, it shifts the word so you're able to enunciate it.
The Shema, you don't know the Shema? You know what that means? To teach you.
According to Kabbalah, there's 9 that have sound. There's 1 that doesn't. And he says that these 9, and even this 10 that you don't hear, they're all corresponding to different level goals. The highest goal is corresponding.
Says what the Torah says this?
Yeah. Is keter. It's going to bring it in a second, okay? He says here, V'zeh bechina tet nikudin. This is the concept of the 9 vowel points. No, 1 second before that. As explained above, this is because desire creates the vowel points through which we actualize potential. So therefore, as soon as our desire is increased, then we have vowel points for our words, and they come out when we pray to Hashem, and then potential turns into actual. Because desire breaks the obstacle. Since the obstacle is primarily only for the purpose of desire, he says it goes so far as that when a person's desire is extremely great, and it meets the level of the barrier automatically breaks. You don't need something to then overcome, to get over the hump. As soon as your will meets the goal, it breaks. It's an unbelievable thing. Unbelievable thing.
True, that's right.
This is the concept of 9 vowel points, the 9 firmaments. So what's a rakia?
Firmament.
A firmament. And what's a firmament? It's something that separates two things. So too, these vowel points on a deeper level, each vowel point is a separation between you and your goal. And the higher the goal, the higher the vowel point. These vowel points, according to the Zohar, correspond to the different firmaments. It says that there's Malchut, which is our world, and then there's the 9 firmaments above it. And each one of them are, so to speak, corresponding to higher level goals that we need to try and aspire to, each according to the level of our will. A barrier is like a rakia, is like a firmament, which is a curtain that separates and screens out a person and keeps him from the thing. As it's written, let there be a firmament and let it divide. The firmament is a barrier that separates and divides between the desire and the desired objective. This is why the earth too is called a rakia. Like it's written, Liroka, the earth upon the waters, to spread out, meaning the earth too is an area that divides and separates. And according to Rav Natan, what's the biggest thing that separates us from our goals? It's earth, meaning our physicality, our lusts, our desires, X, Y, and Z. And in order to overcome this, you need very great willpower. And what allows us to reach that desired willpower? It's the difficulties in our life that keep us from the goal. And only through these things do we get to the point that we're able to cry out to Hashem in truth and sincerity. The 9 vowel points are therefore the aspect of the 9 firmaments. And we want to go up each one in order to get closer and closer to Hashem. Each one's a barrier. I give this example all the time. You have Sarah Imenu, you have Rivka Imenu, you have Rachel Imenu. What is their whole essence? It's in their name. They're mothers. Their whole essence for why they were created is to be mothers. Sarah was only brought down to this world to give birth to Yitzchak, to give birth to the Jewish people. What is the one thing she suffered and struggled her whole life to do? Have kids. Now why would Hashem do this? This sounds very cruel, no? Can you imagine you were only created for one thing? You're created to do this one thing. And it's the one thing you want more than anything. And it's the one thing you're not able to do. For 90 years. 90 years. And now we can understand why would Hashem do this to Sarah? Why does Hashem do this to people? And the answer is because Sarah, who wanted to give birth so badly, didn't know that she was giving birth to Yitzchak. And Yitzchak is the beginning of the Jewish people. It's like praying for the greatest human being that ever existed. So now we're learning that to the degree that you want something great, to that degree your will has to be great. So if you want to give birth to Yitzchak Avinu, so then you have to have the greatest desire to have a child that was ever known. And that took 90 years to get her will to be so strong through her prayers, she was finally able to break it. So too, what allowed Yitzchak and Rivka to give birth to Yaakov, it was only when they both got to the point that their will was so great that they were both crying to Hashem in both sides of the room. Only when your will meets your desire, then it breaks. And the place that you express your will is through your prayer. Now there are 9 vowel points, 9 firmaments. This is because there are many different types of desired objectives, one desired objective being on a higher level than the next. The magnitude of the desire has to be in proportion to the desired objective. One is accordingly confronted by a greater obstacle through which the vowel points are made. This is the concept of the 9 vowel points, the 9 firmaments, the kametz, the shruk. These are the different vowel points, namely vowel point above vowel point, firmament above firmament. In other words, one desired objective is above the next, since the desired objective requires that amount of desire, which corresponds to the vowel point. So for a greater amount of desire, you need a higher level vowel. And then you're able to get it out of your throat. What did the Jewish people need to leave Egypt? They needed to scream and cry out to Hashem. And apparently it took over 200 years in Egypt to get them to the point that they desired so much to leave. What was the beginning of Egypt? They bought beautiful big houses there. Sounds familiar? And then ultimately, through great suffering, through unbelievable suffering of Holocaust proportions, we finally all scream out to Hashem, and Hashem said immediately, let them go. Why was it immediate? Because of what we're learning here. As soon as your will meets the goal, automatically it breaks, and Hashem says to Moshe, go save this person. Go redeem this person from his suffering. Go take him out of his difficulties. This is why the highest vowel point is kamatz, which comes from temitz, which means to be closed or sealed. Because it's so high, you need to get your will to the point of something that's completely closed and sealed like treasure. Since the desired objective is extremely closed and sealed, like Mashiach. The general principle is, whatever a person truly desires to accomplish, he will certainly accomplish, turning potential into actual. No obstacle or unavoidable circumstance will have the power to keep him from what he wants, provided his desire meets that thing. This can be understood from the obstacle itself. When the person sees that the obstacle is becoming more powerful and he's having unbelievable, not natural difficulties in achieving this thing, he should know and understand it's because what he wants is very great and not to give up. He therefore has to muster even greater strength, so that his desire becomes extremely strong in proportion to the magnitude of the desired objective and the obstacle. He will then certainly be able to accomplish his goal. I want to tell you a quick story. I told you this before. I think I actually told it in Young Israel, but I want to tell you guys again because this is a very inspirational story for me and it means a lot to me. And every time I say it, it gives me strength. There was a Jew, there was a person, his name was Viktor Frankl, and he was a psychiatrist who ended up in the camps in the Holocaust. He was from Germany. Prior to the camps, he had a theory which was very conflictual with the normative theory at the point of why a person does what he does. According to Freud, the whole reason that we really do anything is only because we want to procreate. This was the Freudian theory. At this point we have debunked it, but at the time it was the only thing that people believed. That was it. It was like this, and if you don't believe this, you're insane. You have no place in psychology. Freud said that everything that we do is for the sake of procreation. Because his psychological theory, pour vu.
You mean my provum, but not like sexual?
Yes, yeah, right. It's all based on evolutionary theory. We're only doing things, right? Why am I helping this person? Because I really want him to help me out so that I can have more money, and with this more money, I can get a better looking girl, and with a better looking girl, I can have better looking kids, whatever. This whole thing. Now, Viktor Frankl said something unbelievable, which was very, very contradictory to this, and which he had no traction for. His theory was that the reason that people do things is because they desire meaning in their life. A person is driven by the desire for meaning. And he couldn't prove it. He had no proof for this, but he felt like it was true. He ended up in the Holocaust. He ended up in the camps. While he was there, he ended up becoming like the psychiatrist for the camps. Everybody came to him for therapy. They came to him to speak to him, and he saw many, many things. One of the things that he saw that was very transformative for him was that he saw people give up their lives to give up their one piece of food to somebody else that they didn't know. And he says, according to Freud, this doesn't make sense. Your whole purpose is to continue your existence and to give forth more existence, and yet you're giving up your ability to live through the one piece of food you have for somebody else. Clearly, there is a higher will than the desire to continue living, because this person is willing to give it up. And he said this is a proof that people have a higher desire for meaning than a desire to live. When he got out of the camps, he felt even more yearning to continue to show everybody that the greatest desire of man is meaning. And everybody laughed at him. He was the joke of the psychiatric community. And he was mamish about to give up on his whole goal and everything he had been through. All of the things he had written, everything he had experienced. And he was a workaholic. Okay, now I want you to put this story on the side for a second. I'll take you to another story, and then we'll connect the stories. There was a woman who survived the camps, and after the camps were over, one of her sons became very close to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He came to America, and he became very close to Chabad. And he told his mother she should really come to America and speak to the Chabad Rebbe. Speak to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and I feel like he'll really be able to console you. She lost her husband, and she lost a lot in the camps, and she was very bitter, obviously, about what happened. So she said, fine, I'll come. I'll visit you, and I'll meet him. She had a private audience set up with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. She met with him. And to her surprise, it ended up being an amazing session for her. He didn't even say anything to her. She just cried and cried and cried with him, and for some reason, through this experience, she felt a lot of solace and consolation. Also, the Lubavitcher Rebbe was one of the few rabbis who was known for not giving a reason why it happened. You notice many people, they say the Holocaust happened because of this sin and this and that. The Lubavitcher Rebbe never said any of these things. He said this thing is way above us, and you just have to you have to try and console the people who have been through such suffering, and just try to be there for them. That's all we can do. She came out of the meeting feeling much better. I'm sure he said other things to her, but this is what we know about. The Rebbe then said to her, can you do me a favor? She said, sure. He said, you live in Germany? Yeah. Are you going back to Germany after? Yes. I need you to deliver a message for me. He was known for making people shlichim for him, messengers for him. Deep Kabbalistic reasons why once a person becomes a shliach for you, you're able to help them rectify. That's one of the deeper reasons why he did that. But on a simple level, he needed a favor. Told her, go to Germany and deliver this message to this person for me. Gave her a letter. She went on her way. She goes to Germany. She ends up in this home. Knocks on the door. Opens the door. Out comes a woman with a cross on her neck. And you see a gigantic cross with Yeshka hanging on it. You know, the famous classic image of the Jew from 2,000 years ago, where they claim is a god. And she's looking and she's thinking to herself, I must have the wrong address. There's no way the Lubavitcher Rebbe sent me to Germany to go into this home where they're Catholic, to give this Jew a message. So she said, is this person, his name is blah blah blah, is he here? She goes, yeah. She goes, he's my husband. Like, there's no way. So it comes out, and it's a very angry, very irritable person. He says to the woman, what do you want? What are you doing here? Explain to me. She says this, and she can't get the words out because she's nervous, because she's speaking to him, and he's obviously angry, and he has no patience. She says to him, I have a message from you for the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Do you know him? And all of a sudden, his face completely changed. And he said, of course, you have a message from the Lubavitcher Rebbe for me? He said, yeah. He said, come in, come in. Brings her in, makes her tea, sits her down next to him, and says, what does the Rebbe have to say for me? Takes out a letter, gives it to him. He starts reading the letter, and he's reading the letter, and the letter says, Victor, I know what you've been through. I know everything that you're continuing to go through. I know what you're trying to bring to the world, and it's very, very great. And you need to know not to give up. And I promise you, if you don't give up, if you never give up on your dream, you will succeed. I promise you. Just do not give up, and you will succeed in a very big way. He read this letter, and he started crying hysterically, to the extent that he had to go in the other room, and she said she never heard a man sobbing like this. Like a hurricane. Crying and crying and crying and crying. And it took him a long time before he could get back up and come back to the room. He said, you don't understand. He said, do you want to know I'm crying like this? She said, yeah, I would love to know. He said, I've been working on something my whole life, and I was in the camps, and I suffered tremendously, and I lost my wife, and I lost my family, and I was literally about to give up on my dream. I have a bag packed in that room, and this weekend I was planning on moving to Australia and just living out the rest of my life there. Because of what you just told me, I'm never going to give up. He is the guy from the beginning of the story, Viktor Frankl. That year he wrote Man's Search for Meaning. It's the most popular book ever written in psychology. Every single psychologist has this book. And it's all over the world. You can get it, I have it. And I'm telling you, you go see any therapist, you're going to see this in his bookcase. Man's Search for Meaning. It's a very, very, very important book. It's not a long book. It's a very powerful book. It talks about how... It's not long. Man's Search for Meaning.
Doesn't need to be.
And the only reason he was able to accomplish this, and it didn't, imagine, he spent his whole life, 40, 50 years trying to do this thing.
This disproved Sigmund Freud.
And it disproves Freud's theory. It goes to disprove. It's his intention. It's not specifically to do that, but to show that we're living for meaning. It's a very empowering book. Yes, he's Jewish. How the
Got married to a Catholic?
Yeah, after he lost his wife. Now, how the Lubavitch Rebbe knew about his situation and all these things, only Hashem knows. Tzaddik Yisrael Olam, only the Tzaddik knows.
Did he convert back to Judaism?
No, but his kids did say he secretly wrapped tefillin every morning. They saw him do it every morning.
Kids converting?
I don't know. Okay. What's the point of the story? The point of the story is he was this close away from never doing this thing. One more day, one more weekend, and he goes to Australia, and that's it. How many things have you tried to do in your life for a year, for years, maybe your whole life, and you haven't been able to? And imagine you're one day away. Don't give up. Because does Viktor Frankl know that he's going to write the biggest book in history in psychology? No. He thinks he's going to write a book and hopefully he affects certain people. He doesn't know that this is going to mamish change the whole world. Yet to the degree that your desire is great, what you want, to that degree your will has to be great. And he didn't know this. So Lubavitcher Rebbe told him, because he knew if you never give up and your will is that great, you will succeed. There's no thing as you don't. And through this he was able to. And this is our lesson right here in a nutshell. You don't give up on your goal, you will succeed. I haven't been able to for years and it's getting harder and harder. Rav Nachman says that's a sign, it's a good thing, and don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Man's Search for
When
Meaning.
is questions?
When is questions? In 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Nor, he says, nor should a person use the obstacle as a mean for exempting himself as an excuse. We know according to the Gemara, Hashem counts it for you, the thought, as if you did it, if you genuinely tried to and you weren't able to. And most rabbis hold it, and they teach you that it powers you because you weren't able to, and Hashem counts it like you did. That's great. Rav Nachman says that should not stop you from following through. Because there are certain people, they want the mitzvah, and there are certain people that they really want that thing. And just because they get credit for it, doesn't mean they have the thing. So the person who wants to really have the thing, he's not going to give up on it, simply because his circumstances don't allow him to do so. The person who doesn't have the money to travel to Uman, who doesn't have the circumstances that allow him to live in Israel, his physical health, his spiritual avoda, whatever it is that's keeping him from becoming the person he wants to become. Don't fall on the fact that Hashem counts it for you as if you did it because you're trying so hard. Don't give up on the thing. He says that if a person intends to do the mitzvah but circumstances prevent him from carrying it out, it is as if he did it.
Mamish.
And mamish, like you literally did it. But he says someone who is not looking to discharge his obligation, but rather he wants the mitzvah itself, he wants the holy thing itself, he desires that thing, what does he have from his special concession that Hashem considers as if he did it? If you're desiring for it, you're longing for the thing, you don't have the thing. So it's not going to be enough for you to be able to discharge your obligation. You're going to want that thing. For in truth, a Jew ought to fulfill his desire and turn his potential into actual. Thus, when his desire is genuinely strong enough and his mind is in no way eased by the fact that he gets it as if he did, he will certainly accomplish that thing, turning possibility into reality. Every barrier and circumstance will be broken and eliminated. Their sole purpose was for the sake of the desire. So when a person's desire matches the obstacle, the circumstance or the obstacle automatically ceases. Automatically it breaks. The klipa is your will. When your will meets the thing, it breaks. When Sarah Amenu, her desire and her will and her prayer reached the desire and the greatness of Yitzchak Avinu, she had a kid. When the Jewish people, their will met leaving Egypt and leaving slavery, they left immediately. When this person decided in his mind, I'm never giving up because of what the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, that year, he made that book. So too in our life, when you have resolved in your mind, you're never giving up. Hashem certainly, says Rav Nachman, will give it to you. You will make it. You will follow through. You will achieve. You will achieve your goals. So don't give up. There's a little bit more, but we're going to end on this note. And then we'll start a new Torah Monday night. So quick summary. We want to fulfill our potential in our lifetime. But the only way to turn potential into reality is through speech. Especially if you're Jewish. How do you make your speech perfect? How do you increase the quality of your speech when your speech has vowel points? And then it can dance and it can move. And what creates those vowel points? It's obstacles. How do the obstacles create the vowel points? Because the vowel points is your desire or your will. So the greater is the obstacle, the greater your will becomes. And Rav Nachman says, Davka, specifically, when you have difficulties in a matter of Kedusha, you want something great. I want to learn, but I can't learn. I don't want to have a job that I'm spending all day and night working. I want to learn. Or whatever the holy desire, the thing that you want is. Whatever it is, you really want this thing, and you're having obstacles being able to do it, don't look this as Hashem doesn't want it for you. It's not true. Hashem wants it for you. But this is an amazing thing that you want. It's unbelievable. You don't even know the thing that you want. You don't even realize how great it is. And therefore, your will has to meet the goal. And where do you express that will? It's through your tefillah. And certainly Rav Nachman says as soon as your will meets the goal, the obstacle automatically breaks and you will get it immediately. It's not a process. It comes from truth. Being able to pray with truth. So every single time that you come to these classes, your goal should be to pray with more truth, to pray more sincerely, to pray more honestly, to be more vulnerable, to allow yourself to mamish, just give yourself to Hashem and say, I need you, and cry to Hashem and ask Him for help. Literally, cry to Hashem. I need you, I need you, I need you. I can't do this. I need your help. And you'll succeed. Question.
So I posted on the Telegram group just a few days ago, like an amazing class from Natalia Fencer, and made a summary of like the bullet points. So basically,
Guys,
a few points that I summared over there. It's like we're going through issues, and sometimes we're like very depressed and bad about it. So he brings like, first of all, this is like a proper devoted. There's different ways, but this is one of them. First of all, you thank Hashem for all the good things and you're sincere. Right. And then once you're happy about all the good things, then you thank Hashem for all the bad things that are not going. Right? You have problems with Shmirat Habrit or Parnasa or Shlom Bayit, all these things, and you really need to be helpful. Not like, oh Hashem, thank you. Really. And then once you get to that point, you're not even looking for like to get out, just Hashem to give you wisdom and knowledge and open your eyes why these issues are coming. Okay, that's all in good. So what's the bottom line over there? It's like they say that the gates of the heavens, tears break their gates, right? But joy completely removes them. So after knowing that point, and we have this obstacle. And it's like you should do it bodus in a like positive way and accepting everything and like say thank you and say salvation. But now we're talking about just especially the last note that you spoke about. It's like Hashem, I want to have salvation. I need to get out of this, and you are like asking, and you do want to get out of it, and you do feel vulnerable, and you are like crying your guts out. So, is there one is preferable than the other? When is the proper one to do either?
So I think you need both. I think you need to start with the thank you, and I think that needs to move into this type of yearning and crying to Hashem. Because if you do that yearning and that crying without saying thank you, you could go into depression and sadness and despair. That's not the goal of the Hippolytus. There are many times that I don't feel like saying thank you, but I know that whatever is about to come out of my mouth is just going to make me very, very sad. And so as a result, I just spend 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour, 45 minutes saying thank you until I feel joy from all the good, and I know that Hashem is running my life, and then I'm able to pray with conviction without falling into despair and just purely from yearning. The goal is to be yearning, but not to fall into sadness. But yearning for what you want, and the only way to really yearn in a positive way is to first recognize that Hashem really is controlling your life, and you're only able to do that by saying thank you.
I'm just looking for the point. He said that any prayer that comes from self-pity is whining and not prayer.
Right, so we're not looking for self-pity.
So what differentiates between self-pity and
vulnerable?
Right.
Vulnerable means I don't control my life. Hashem does, and I'm giving myself up to that reality and the feelings that come with that. Self-pity is poor nebach me. That's not what we're saying. Not saying poor me. We're saying Hashem, I must need your help. I need your help. I need more help. That's not self-pity. It's just asking Hashem I need you. And you can feel a lot of emotions and feelings that come from that are very real for you. But that's not self-pity. Self-pity is, how come this guy has and I don't have? That's not what your prayer should consist of.
What would you say, Rabbi, is more effective? Looking for the good with tears, looking for the good with pure joy? Or combination?
He just said combination. Oh my God! That's a combination. That's the answer.
That's the answer.
Combination.
That's the answer. That's the answer.
I think if you can, I think it's important to come to a state of joy first, and only then to try and move into tears. Not that like we're such masters of our emotion, whatever comes is real for you. But that way the tears are not coming from sadness, they're coming purely from wanting something, yearning. They're not coming from despair and self-pity. Hashem doesn't want you to give up.
Maybe someone else is working towards the same goal. Me and someone else are working towards the same goal. I attain it, he doesn't. Does that mean I had more desire than him? Or whatever he's going to attain is going to be more than me?
It depends what it is. It depends what the thing is. If it's a spiritual thing, it's a very deep spiritual thing. It could be that he has more desire than you.
He has more?
It could be. Whatever you did, so then you have it. But it depends what it is. If it's a physical thing, so Hashem determines these things like even before they happen. Okay.
So
let me just make sure nobody guys have a question.
the more you are something, the easier it is to speak about it.
The more you
Benny,
what?
you need to speak up. Nobody
The more you are something, the easier it is to speak about it.
What do you mean?
Because if you already attained something, it means you had the desire that someone else is looking for, so the easier it would be to speak about it. You already, like, you said that the more desire you have, the easier it would be to speak about something.
Right.
But if you already got the thing you desired, isn't that the ultimate,
And then you move on to the next thing.
saying it's the ultimate way of
Spiritually, you have to
desire?
continue to look and to keep growing.
Of course, I'm saying for the step beforehand, but the easier. So I'm saying the higher I am as a person, the easier it would be to speak about things that I want.
Okay, sure. Yes.
I think I'm sorry, just to put things in park, because what I understood is like when you're crying, when you like when I'm I need to have joy, but when I'm learning, like you said, you need to cry and want something. It's like, what do I want? Do I want me, or do I want Hashem? Like I have issues with parnasa, right? So I want parnasa. Why? Because I want people to look at me. Whatever I want parnasa, so I can like have enough and give stuff and take care of my family and like more personally, like learn, so I can sit and learn and like do avodas Hashem. Like why am I needing this? Is it because I want me or because I want Hashem? Right?
Yeah.
Everybody has it.
So everybody wants both, but the goal,
right? But the thing
the
is,
goal
what
is
is
to shift it and to try and become more and more about wanting Hashem, and less about my ego, my own desires. And that's part of the reason we go through difficulties, is to nullify our ego. Like we said, either the bitul comes through the bodhidu over time, or it comes from your life. Either way, you're not going to avoid it. If Hashem loves you, He's gonna break your selfishness.
Okay, if someone receives something without desire, does that mean that he's not going to appreciate it?
It means that, so obviously the person who wants it more is going to appreciate it more when he gets it. Sure. He's not going to appreciate it as much as the guy who's working in Torah and Word. You have a guy who, right out of
high school, gets a job.
Yeah, he gets a job. He's a doctor. He's in the best hospital in the world. And the guy who goes to school for 20 years, that guy is going to be crying the day that he gets the
Even after he gets the job, he's still get depressed.
I don't even know what to do
I mean, I don't know how I'd be happier if I did it 20 years later.
I'm telling you from my own life experience.
That is not true, by the way.
That the more that something is withheld from you, that you're trying to do, and you finally get it, you appreciate it.
I saw Rav Arush write down, Abraham and Sarah didn't have kids. Dozens of years, right? So he says, Abraham was a tzaddik. If Hashem would have gave him Yitzchak when he was like 40 or 50 years old, what, he wouldn't thank him? He would thank him every single day. He was thanking. He would definitely thank every single day. But getting it after so much yearning, after so much lack, was unbelievably amazing. It said about Hannah, about Shmuel's mother, right? She asked for a child and she didn't have one. Whatever. In the end, she got Shmuel, and Shmuel did something. She said, "Hashem, you're going to give me a child. I'm going to give him. He was a Kohen. I'm going to give him to you." And he did something with the Kohen Gadol, whatever, that he had to die. So the Kohen Gadol told her, "Listen, he did something. He's chayav to death. I'll pray. I'll get you a better son." So she told him, I prayed to Hashem through this child, not for this child. Means my whole connection, all my davening, all my crying and my connection, my ratzon, my desire was through this kid. You're going to give me a freebie right now? Where's my connection? Where's my connection? My whole life, all my years that I davened for him, that I had this connection with Hashem, was through this child. Well, you're going to give me a freebie now? That's not my connection. I can't have a different one. This is Hashem. This is me and you. This is not just my child. This is my lifetime with you. This is my connection. This is my whole davening for you. So if you get something sometimes after a hardship, it's much better.
Yes.
Saying all those years that you weren't able to attain it, you'd be depressed. Because of those years you lost.
No.
He said he wanted to give up, but he loved that down. So give one more. Give me one
Obviously,
more.
if you don't have Emunah, you will get depressed. You're not able to do it. But if you mamish believe in Hashem, you believe that He controls your life, you believe everything He does is for the very best. So then, even when you don't have the thing, you're still able to be happy. It's the whole goal of being Jewish. It's not about getting things that you want in your life. You're going to see when you get older, there's things that you got very easily as a kid, not going to come easily anymore. And then you're going to have to really have faith.
It could be that sometimes you desire to have something and you ask from God, but probably God wants you to do something that you don't understand.
So I'm explaining what the thing is. He wants you to want it. But nothing says that's it. That's what it comes down to. He wants you to want it. It's not some special act, some mitzvah, something that you do to help a person. Now I give it to you.
Yeah,
Your will.
that's what
As soon as your ratzon is equal to the thing you want, Hashem gives it to you. And all the obstacles are only to increase your desire for that thing. So therefore, I give you guys a blessing, Bezrat Hashem, that you should know that that all of your hardships and your difficulties and your suffering, they're not in vain. And Hashem sees you and He loves you and He's with you. Just never to give up. Never ever to give up. I'm telling you, in life, the main thing in life is simply never to give up. It's not about it's not about winning. It's not about making things the way you want it to. This life is about not giving up. This is the greatest success that you can have. So Hashem, you should be able to know what it means never to give up. Right?
Amen.